Now, here's a key misconception about fear. And it goes like this. Well, Leo, fear is just something natural and reasonable that we all feel. And some things are just inherently scary. I mean, of course, it's natural to be afraid of death, only natural, because we don't really know what happens after death. And it's only natural if you're a Christian to be afraid of sinning. And it's only natural if you're a scientist to be afraid of believing in some false new agey nonsense. It's only natural. Wrong. There's nothing natural about it. All of this is being constructed by your mind. This is what you got to admit to yourself here. You're in denial about it. Fear is never an objective fact. Fear is never found out there in the world as if some object is there that is inherently fearful and it will cause fear to you. Like you see a snake and the fear is in the snake. No, the fear is not in the snake. Nor is the fear in like the homosexuality. You might say, well, Leo, I'm a Christian and, the homosexual act itself, that's a evil, and the evil is in the act, and that's where the fear comes from. No, it doesn't. Your mind is constructing the fear. It's projecting the fear out of you through the lens of your identity, you see, outwards. It's being projected out. Or if you fear something more mundane, like you fear running out of money, very common fear, you might think it's totally natural fear. In a certain sense, it is natural, but what is natural really? Is the condition of not having money, is that what fear is? No. It's how your mind is interpreting that situation that creates the fear. In fact, there are people who have millions of dollars, billionaires. There are billionaires who still fear going broke. How can that be? Obviously, it's not the condition of being poor that's causing that, because these people, they will probably die with still billions of dollars in their bank account. So they're never going to even experience poverty, but they're still afraid of it. So where's that coming from? Is it coming from all the billions of dollars they have? Is that where the fear is located? Of course not. It's their own mind constructing it. And of course, this is very easy to prove because different people react differently to different objects. So one person loves snakes, handles snakes, no problem. Another person terrified of snakes. So what does that mean? That means it's in the person, it's not in the snake. And likewise about money. There are some billionaires and millionaires who are more afraid of going broke than there are people who are like hippies and maybe only have $100 in their pocket or $1,000 in their savings account. And, they're cheerful, they're happy. They don't really care about money very much. Money's not a big deal to them. The way they were raised, they're kind of just carefree. They kind of go with the flow. They're more spontaneous. They're not worried about how to pay the bills and all that stuff. So you see, the hippie has less fear in this case than the billionaire. How can that be? Because the mind is constructing it. All fear is imaginary. Do you understand how significant this is? I'm telling you that all fear is imaginary. Think of how powerful that is, if it's true. Now, from your point of view, you don't know if that's true. The only way you can know if that's true is if you go very deep in this work and then you discover that it's true. I'm telling you that it's true, but I don't want you to just believe me on blind faith. I want you to question it. I want you to try to validate it for yourself. But what I'm telling you is that if you go study this deeply, you will discover that all fear is imaginary, including the fear of death. That's the amazing thing about fear. That's the most shocking, that's one of the most shocking, in fact, come to think of it, this is one of the most shocking insights, one of the deepest mindfucks I've ever had, and I've had plenty of them. I've had plenty of them. One of the most shocking insights I've ever had is the day that I discovered, and I remember the moment, my jaw dropped, that all fear is completely imaginary, that there's no substance to fear whatsoever. Fear is literally nothing. There's nothing there at all. Now that's powerful. Think about what that might do for your life if that wasn't just a belief that you held, but that was a living reality, that you actually became conscious of how all fear is imaginary. You think that might change your relationships? You think that might change your attitude towards work and towards health and death and war and politics and everything else? Yeah, you bet it would. Now you might wonder, but Leo, isn't it just healthy and normal to have fear? Isn't it just like a normal response? Well, it is normal in the sense that 99.9% of people are completely lost in fear. But you know what? Normality is not a sign of truth. So just because everyone around you is scared shitless all the time, just like you are, that doesn't mean that it's true. In fact, that's the kicker. That's the linchpin of this whole thing, is that all fear is falsehood. All fear is falsehood. All fear is delusion. All fear is lack of consciousness. If you were totally conscious, I'm telling you that you would not fear anything. Now, I know this is tough to believe because it seems so unlike your living experience of life. You couldn't even imagine what it would be like to live life without fear. And how could fear possibly be a falsehood? I mean, Leo, if there's like a bear in the woods and I stumble across it and I'm feeling fear, that's not falsehood. What's false about that? This is a dangerous situation. This is an objectively dangerous situation. That's false. There's no such thing as an objectively dangerous situation. Danger is relative. Relative to what? Relative to what you identify with. If you identify with being a human meatbag, yeah, bears are dangerous. See? The trick is that society conditions us that fear is inevitable. And that fear is totally natural and normal, and there's nothing we can do about it. Because society isn't interested in truth. It turns out that one of the remarkable things about truth with a capital T is that it transcends all fear. Because it transcends survival. So, one of the reasons you might want to pursue truth is because if you want to transcend fear, that would be one reason. In fact, that's the only way you can do it. If you want to totally do it. Now, of course, there's degrees. You can certainly work on improving your fear responses without ever fully realizing truth with a capital T. But there's a very deep connection that I want you to understand here between fear and falsehood. Fear and illusion. When you're afraid, you're trapped inside of an illusion, but the illusion feels so real that you don't know that it's an illusion, and therefore that just heightens your fear even more, and you start to believe that the fear is real. And it becomes this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy where something that isn't real actually seems like it's the most real thing that there is. That's the trick that the mind plays on you. See? Mostly what society is about survival. That's what our culture and our society is built upon. That's what all social institutions are built upon. They're not built upon truth. They're not built upon understanding fear at an existential level and then transcending it. No, nobody cares about this. Society is built upon using your fears against you to help you to survive. Turn on the TV, look at the commercials. How do businesses sell you things? By going right for your fear, pushing your fear button. You know, are you worried about how fat you are and how your husband's going to leave you? Are you worried about your erectile dysfunction and how your hot girlfriend, she's going to leave you and cheat on you with another man who's more who can get it up better than you can? Well, you buy our Viagra. See? Are you worried about those illegals and Mexicans coming over the border? Vote for Trump. Are you worried about science and secularism taking over the world? Donate and support radical Wahhabist Islam. who are going to fight that. Are you worried about gays? Join some, Christian organization that's going to do conversion therapy on the gays to convert them to good, upstanding citizens. This is how you're controlled, through fear. Through fear.